Hello and happy holidays. Obviously, I'm a big fan of this time of year. Today, as the title suggests, I'm going to be talking about games, but not just any games, ones that tickle our nostalgia, another thing I am a big fan of. Lately, I have been finding myself falling back into the things that made me really happy as a kid and indulging in them as an adult shamelessly. It's been lovely. I have been doing it all. The flared jeans, drinking Sobe, watching wrestling, wearing wacky tights, and most prominently, escaping reality in the best way millennials know how. Games. So if you want to take a nostalgic trip down a hot-ass, dry-ass metal slide in the middle of a wooden playground, sit tight and hang out with me for a bit as I share the games that raised us. I'm going to start with the game that inspired this video. Neopets. I wanted to do an entire video on the evolution of Neopets, but as I was researching, there wasn't a ton of meat to make it worth a whole video, well, for me anyways. While replaying Neopets, I was stung by the nostalgia bee and was like, oh my god, the 2000s really did have the coolest games. And Neopets was one of the first games I ever played online. If you don't know, Neopets is a game where you adopt virtual pets, explore a fantasy world called Neopia, and you play games to earn Neopoints to buy all sorts of wacky things like a deadly attack spork or a sludge slushie. It really was like a digital playground. In addition to games, it also had its own marketplace. And I know it's very, very different from the social media we have today, but for me, it felt like my first experience with social media. Bouncing to the next game, I do have a lot, so I'm gonna keep the explanation sort of brief so I can get to as many as possible. One of my favorites that I thought of and was shared with me quite a few times was Jak and Daxter. Weirdly, it was my mom, who is a gamer grandma, that introduced me to this game and most games from my childhood. What I remember most from this game was how colorful it was, the amazing, smack noise Jack's jump flip thing did. Dark Eco was really sick, and Fire Canyon gave me my first stroke. Jak and Daxter is timeless. Shout out to Ratchet & Clank too, the bizarro alternate universe Jak and Daxter. On the topic of timelessness, I want to confess something. One of the most timeless games of all time. Does that even make sense? I have played probably 10 times, and that's me being really generous with myself. And that game is Mario Kart. Listen though, wait, hold the tomatoes. I was a Dreamcast kid, okay? I couldn't control the systems I did not own. I only got to play this game at my one friend's house at sleepovers, the twice I did sleep over. And even when I was playing it, I didn't vibe with it. I know, blasphemous, I'm the worst person ever, I get it. When I asked on Instagram what game made you think of your childhood, what game raised you, Mario Kart was easily the number one answer. Almost everybody put that. I was very grateful. Most of you sent me a list of 5 to 10 games, and Mario Kart on everybody's list for the most part. But like I said, I was a PlayStation/Dreamcast kid, so Mario Kart really wasn't on my radar. When it comes to PlayStation games, I have some deep cuts. Well, I thought they were, and then a few people sent me these same titles. First is Duke Nukem. I believe the one I played was called Time to Kill or something like that. I thought he was so badass, looking like Johnny Bravo and shit. Then there was 007, Nightfall, Skyfall, I think it was Nightfall, the James Bond game. That was incredible. I was not very good at it. And I did not get very far. The last thing I remember was a mission where I was crawling through vents. I'm not sure, but I definitely did not get very far. I also played How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I thought that game was so amazing looking. I looked at it again when I remembered its existence, and it looks like someone took Vaseline and just smeared it all over the game. Next up is Midnight Club Dub Edition. I loved the customization of this game. I had a baby pink Hummer with neon pink lights underneath, and speaking of pink, I was obsessed with Barbie Horse Adventure probably far longer than I should have been. I'm pretty sure I played that game up until middle school. And won the street ball game. That was really awesome. My dad got me into that. I really loved all the cool nicknames like Half Man, Half Amazing, and Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights. Another game I could not beat for the life of me. The last two games I acquired in an interesting way. My dad got word that a Hollywood Video was going out of business in our city. He rented quite a few games and movies, and whoopsie-daisy, when he finally got around to returning them, they were shut down for good. Obviously, I have to speak on Grand Theft Auto. Depending on how lenient your parent or guardian was or how slick you were, your first introduction to Grand Theft Auto could have been GTA 3, Vice City, or San Andreas. For myself, my first introduction was GTA 3, and I was in first or second grade at the time. I didn't even do missions until I played Vice City. When I first started with GTA 3, I thought of it as a crazy, epic, futuristic, magical, violent version of a car mat. You know, the ones you drive the little Matchbox cars on. I loved those. So I just drove around. Once I got into Vice City though, oh boy, it was all about spawning tanks and getting crazy with a chainsaw. I was a very young child playing a very adult game. Speaking of adult games, I want to talk about SimCity 2000 for a second. I really wanted to understand this game so bad, and I tried. I really did, but even now, looking at the screenshots gives me anxiety. A silver lining, though, it did lead me to play Pharaoh, the PC game, although I didn't quite understand that game enough to be very good at it, but you know, it was still playable. I had a basic understanding. SimCity 2000 though, no, it was like speaking in another language from another galaxy. The regular Sims, however, was something I understood very well. I loved and still love that game, and apparently it's still very popular. I learned that after I did a video on the evolution of The Sims. Oh, they are fervent and passionate. They are into their Sims. But I get it. The Sims was very special for me, and I'm sure it's the same for many people, because it really is the ultimate escape. I could literally immerse myself in a home and a family that I could control, and that was very therapeutic for me. Controversial take, but The Sims 2, yeah, that's the best Sims game. Moving on to Club Penguin. I don't actually know what the objective or story for Club Penguin is or was. I can't even tell you if it's even technically a game, but for me and my friends, it was all about who could get away with the most buck-wild name and how much horrible shit you could get away with chatting before being banned. I need to do some more confessing. And I feel even more judgment coming my way, tomatoes being thrown, and that's okay. I accept my lashings. I just want to keep it very real. While reading your favorite childhood games, I had a really intense realization. I forgot all about the GameCube, the Game Boys, the whatever the gamey things were. I didn't have that. None of that. And if I'm keeping it entirely real, and maybe this is my hater bonering, I thought they were really lame. Yeah. Shout out to every Pokemon game that ever existed, really. I only played the card game, and did anyone even really play it? I just collected them. I feel like I should just get all the embarrassing confessions out of the way now. I played none of the cool games. Shout out to Zelda. Zelda was a game my mom liked, and Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts as well. None of those. I don't think I played any of those ever. If I did, it was maybe once. Am I even a human? I don't know. Oh my god, an Animal Crossing. I'm just swimming in tomatoes now. I know many of you probably spent your 2020 check on the Nintendo Switch and the Animal Crossing, but yeah, I never felt compelled to play, and I didn't even know it was like a childhood game. So that's where I'm at with it. All of those games I mentioned, they feel like games for smart people, for intelligent people, people with attention spans that are better than a squirrel's. I just didn't and don't fall into that category, although I did really like educational games. Whenever I finished my computer class assignment, I'd throw in Oregon Trail or Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. At home, I even had the Liberty Kids game. I was so dorky. I was reminded of so many more games too. Freddy Fish, Pajama Sam, Reader Rabbit. Not exactly educational, but Kid Picks. I still played that in school. Clue Finders, I Spy, and my personal favorite, Putt Putt. That one I remember so well. I loved Putt Putt. I had a brief moment, I think we all did, where I was super into Millsbury too. Like, do you remember Millsbury? I'm just launching these games at you. I'm so sorry. I have so many more that are flooding my brain. Way back in the day, I loved the Zoog Disney era of Disney with all the robots and the futuristic theme. I used ZoogDisney.com for many years after it was no longer Zoog Disney. Still worked though. And when I say Disney games, is there a game you think of before Bueno Rufus? The answer is no. That game was my entire world. Again, I was not very good at this game. I actually played it again recently and yeah, still pretty bad. I was also pretty horrible at Nancy Drew. I wasn't really big into reading the books, but oh my god, I loved the PC games. The day I had access and an understanding of Google rocked my little Nancy Drew playing world. I could look up how to do the puzzles and actually make some progress. Danger on Deception Island and Treasure in the Royal Tower were the two big ones I played, because pre-Google meant it took me a year to finish those, or at least get kind of close to finishing those. And while on the topic of games I was really bad at, did anyone know how to play that Minesweeper game? Have we ever learned how to play that game? I literally only used that game as a time killer when I was sick of solitaire. I had no idea how to play. I was just pushing squares. Space Cadet Pinball was the only built-in PC game that I was actually pretty good at. Not to toot my own horn or anything. To wrap this bad Larry up, I did want to share some of my absolute all-time big favorites. The Sims would be my hands down number one, but I do have some really close contenders. Tony Hawk Pro Skater, I believe 2 was my favorite. I only played 1 and 2, but what an amazing game with a crazy soundtrack. It was great for someone like me who would just click a bunch of buttons wicked fast, having no idea how to do any specific move at all, but somehow churning out these really awesome moves that I could never really duplicate on purpose. Twisted Metal 2 and 4 were some of the biggest games during my youth. It's Calypso or bust, by the way, there's no other choice. This is another game with a really great soundtrack. I don't remember which one specifically had Dragula on it, but I was mumbling the absolute wrong words to that song day in and day out as a child because of Twisted Metal. You know what map sucked? I'm just here airing out my Twisted Metal grievances to you, but the bedroom. Super cool Toy Story-esque conceptually, but oof, not a fan of that one. The city one at night, I believe in Twisted Metal 4, Neon City, that was a great one as well. I have a gazillion cousins and we were all really into games, so the fact that we could all play and we all loved it was a huge bonus. We were always bopping around that Eiffel Tower situation. I had that map memorized. I knew how to hunt and stalk and hide all over the place. SmackDown Just Bring It was my entire personality for a very long time. That game was actually my introduction to wrestling as a kid. I played that first, and that made me want to actually watch wrestling. I had everyone's theme song memorized because I loved the customization. I mostly did story mode, and you know what? I still enjoy story mode the most. Now on to the final two games I want to talk about, starting with the one, the only, the original, the revolutionary Roller Coaster Tycoon. I know I sound like a broken record saying this about another game, but I was really not very good at this. Not at all. I just did my own thing. I wasn't great at unlocking different parks, and I was god-awful at making coasters that riders could actually survive. But damn it, I enjoyed every second of this game. Making shitty roller coasters and shitty log flumes, and making sure every corner had a trash can, flowers, and a happy park attendant ready, willing, and able to clean up attendees' vomit hastily. There is one more game I want to throw at you. Do I know the name of it? No. Can't say I know the name. Can't even tell you what it could be categorized as. But what I call it is the dress-up games. I'm obviously going to throw images up so you know what I'm talking about. But this one, this was earth-shattering, mind-boggling, iconic for little me. I was completely captivated by these. If you don't know, there were several websites that offered different variations of this game. Is it even a game? Could this even be labeled as a game? I'm obviously labeling it as a game. It's in the title. I remember I would find them through like a game portal site that had subcategories, and these were in the dress-up games, hence why I call it the dress-up game. You know what this game reminds me of? Dress to Impress on Roblox, I think it's called. I have triplet 10-year-old siblings. Yes, it's as chaotic as it sounds. Luckily, I, am all grown up and don't live with them. They're just always sending me looks from this game. And tell me how in 2024, 2025, do games look shittier than they did when this Dress to Impress nonsense looks shittier than the dress-up games that I just showed you. Why is that? This is like a 20-year difference. I can say at least the Dress to Impress has sort of like a purpose. It's like a voting system, if I understand it correctly. The dress-up games, I really need to find a name for it, but that's just what it is. The dress-up games had absolutely 0 point, and if there was one, I was not aware of it. I was just dragging and dropping tank tops and like sparklies that were like this big in the background of this hoochie mama looking character for 0 reason, to just look at it and be so happy. Or like the little Walkmans that they had that you can barely see. There was no voting, there was no technique or high scores. It was just an escape, pure imaginative freedom, and playing was its own reward, which is actually really poetic, probably more poetic than necessary for a game that I don't even know the name of. I am sure I missed several games throughout this. I'm already thinking of ones I forgot. This is always what happens when I pick favorites. I also forgot to mention some of the ones you sent me. Rayman, Need for Speed, Spider-Man, DDR, Crash Bandicoot, Guitar Hero, another one I literally never played. I'm already drowning in tomatoes. No need to throw more. Metal Gear Solid 2, the 2K games. There was also a single solitary Farmville that was thrown out there, and that made me smile so big. I love that. You stand in your Farmville truth. Apologies if I am still missing some big ones. Please remember to be kind to yourself. Get lost in some escapism and nostalgia if it's what makes you feel good. I know that the world is feeling very loud and gross and scary right now. Please do not feel shame if you need to just shut all that out for a bit and just escape in your games or your art or whatever it is that brings you joy. If you need to take an hour or 2 or 12 to just get lost in Barbie Horse Adventure or Tony Hawk Pro Skater, you do that and you just enjoy every moment of it. Even if it just makes you like a teensy bit happier for a teensy bit more time. That is my big, deep, very meaningful outro. This was really fun, and I have a whole list of games that I now want to play. I really enjoyed hearing your favorite games. I do think I want to do more videos like this. I have no idea on what exactly yet, but where I get your input on things, whether it's through comments on another video or through Instagram. My Instagram is private, but you can feel totally free to add me and participate if I do these in the future. And if you want to witness my horrendous shit posting in real time. Um, you're more than welcome to do that. You can get a glimpse into my silly little life, but that is going to do it for today. I still don't know how to do an outro. I'm gonna have to figure that out. This has got to be the most, like, unflattering outfit reveal, just in case you thought I was, like, slim, trim, fabulous with good taste in clothing. You're very wrong. This is what I'm wearing out in public these days. Did I say I'm not fabulous? That's a lie. I feel like there's like dust just flying out of nowhere. I'm so sorry if you just see dust, like casted, whatever. I'm like shaking my pad of paper, all my notes, so I'm sorry. I can't hear myself, so this is just, if this is all you're hearing, I'm so sorry. It's still recording.
Is it?
Yeah, everywhere. Oh my god. Luckily the mic's way down here, so I don't know what it picks up.
Everything. Just make sure you don't put it in.
You don't want me putting a... No. My mom watches these videos. That probably wouldn't be appropriate. Love ya.
Love you more.